Hi Internet, my name is Aloria and I read books. Primarily I read fantasy books, but I also do read some romance books, and recently I've been trying to branch out and read more like memoirs and maybe some nonfiction, but that's been very slow going, so maybe I'll make more videos on that effort. Recently I was having a conversation with my friend and we were talking about romance books, and she mentioned she didn't read a whole lot, and I mentioned that I read them, but they were never my favorite books. And then I was thinking about them, and I just never rate romance books like 5 stars. And I don't know if that's just because they're so formulaic. I don't feel any awe, and so I never want to give them the 5 stars because they never like blew my brain. But I thought that was maybe a little unfair, and I'm still not sure how to fix it, because ultimately the rating system is so arbitrary anyway, and it's about your feelings. But I do think that different genres should be rated for their genre. Romance books are not the same thing as fantasy books, and memoirs are not the same thing as the other two. But so they shouldn't be rated, or like I personally don't think they should be rated the same, but at the same time 5 stars always supposed to be like kind of reserved for your favorite of the favorite, right? And just so I decided to go on a quest to find a romance book that I personally rate 5 stars. And I thought I would first start with Emily Henry, because the internet was raging about how wonderful she was. And they mention pertinent, like strong B plots, other plot lines other than just the romance, fun characters, good side characters. Those are all things I like in romance stories, so I figured that I would give Emily Henry a try. The first Emily Henry book I read it. I read the whole thing. The first Emily Henry book I read was Funny Story. For those who don't know, that's about a girl named Daphne. She is engaged to a guy named Peter. Yeah, I think it's Peter. And she talks about how she meets him, and it's wonderful. And then she's just like, and he just dumped me for his best friend, who he had claimed it was platonic the whole time, but his best friend, which is a female, Petra. I'm really not good with names. The only reason I can remember the main characters' names is I wrote them down and I have them on the screen so I can look and see, yes, her name is Daphne. Peter dumps Daphne for Petra, and Daphne ends up moving with Petra's old boyfriend, Miles. That is kind of like the setup for Funny Story. The next book I read was Happy Place, which stars a girl named Harriet and a guy named Wynn. They are part of this larger friend group. Every year they go to a vacation home that one of the friends owns in Maine, and they just like have a good old time. It's their yearly tradition. As they have graduated from college and started spreading around the place, this is like really their one time to like get together and catch up. And then this particular year is a bit awkward though. Harriet and Wynn had been going out for a while, but 6 months ago they had broken up, and they haven't told their friends yet. The original plan is to tell them at the vacation home. Harriet's planning on showing up without Wynn and being like, hey, by the way, we broke up. But then the friend who owns the vacation home kind of drops the bomb where she's like, this vacation home is being sold. Also, I'm getting married and I wanted it to be the best weekend ever, or week ever. She has dragged Wynn here, so they're all there, and they haven't told any of the friends that they've broken up, and they're just kind of trying to keep up the charade to keep the friend group going. And then the last one I read is Beach Read. This one is about January, and Gus January is a romance author, or I guess technically women's fiction. That is a genre that I didn't realize was a thing until recently. I'm not entirely sure what it is. I guess it's like romance, but like with more plot than just rom-coms. I don't know. Anyway, she is a romance author, and she stumbles across an old college associate of hers, Gus, who is now they're both published actually, but he publishes literary, and they're both kind of in a writing slump, and so they decide to switch genres for a little bit. Literary guy is going to write a romance with a happy ending, and she is going to write a more drudgery literary fiction piece. And those are kind of the plots of those 3 books. And especially as I first started out with Funny Story and then Happy Place, as is bound to happen whenever you read books by the same author, I was starting to notice some similarities, and I made a lovely little Venn diagram, which you can now see here. Isn't it beautiful? So obviously the plots are fairly different. I guess plot-wise, I would say Funny Story and Beach Read are probably the most similar, but not really. Beach Read deals a lot more with, I guess they both deal with betrayal. I can add that to the Venn diagram. Some points that are individual to each book other than the baseline plot. And funny story, Daphne actually makes friends with the best friend character during the book, and the other two, the best friend character was from before. She has a long history with the best friend character. I guess the thing I thought that was kind of most different about Happy Place amongst those three, I don't know about any other Hemley with Happy Place, the thing that I thought was most, I guess, unique amongst these three books, Emily Henry could be doing this technique in the other books that she's written. We do have switching between the present and the past timeline going on in this one. And then also the hero is an ex-boyfriend. This is the only ex-boyfriend in these three books. Again, I don't know about any of her other books, so we'll see. And then with Beach Read, she actually has a dead parent in the other two books. The parents are all alive, or at least all her parents. I can't remember if Miles' parents, if we ever talk about Miles or Wynn's. No, I guess in Happy Place, Wynn has a dead dad, but I was mostly thinking about the female lead when I put it in the dead parent. And then some of the similarities I noticed, it was particularly strong with Funny Story and Happy Place, at least for the first little bit, just being introduced to the characters, mostly because of the hero. In both of them, they have a beard, and that's not the most common thing, and maybe it just stands out to me because my dad's had a beard, my husband has a beard. The fact that the hero has a beard in both of them, I'm like, oh, that doesn't happen. So I just started jotting down the points that I noticed they were similar. So at some point in the book, they all get high, and both Funny Story and Happy Place, and they both live in the same house. And it felt like a lot more when I was reading it. Maybe it was just the beard thing, but it doesn't matter. I already started this list. And then between Happy Place and Beach Read, the main similarity I was coming up with is just that they have a shared history. Actually, in both, they met in college. Beach Read and Funny Story, both books take place in Michigan. Both the main characters have a book-related job. Both have daddy issues. Just one is alive, one is dead. And then also, just at some point in the book, the hero complains about people who eat, wheatgrass, I think it is, or whatever grass. I don't know if it's just the guys that Emily Henry writes, or if she personally has something against people who eat grass. I don't know. And then something that all three books had in common, where obviously they're all written by Emily Henry. They all have a romance. The three I read, there was kind of a forced proximity sort of thing going on. In Funny Story, they move in together, so of course they're close together. Similar with Beach Read, they move in right next to each other. And then in Happy Place, they're all spending the summer at the same vacation home. And then also in the three that I read, they all happen to take place by beaches. I don't know if that is a common thread throughout all of her books, but it was definitely a common thread in the three that I read. So as for ratings, of the three, my favorite was Happy Place. I think I ended up rating Funny Story and Beach Read both. I feel bad. I only rated them 3.5. For me, 4 is I really like it. So 3 and 3 up to 4, it's just I enjoyed it. I liked it. I would recommend other people to read it. It's just there's a lack of, I guess I wouldn't say I loved it. I just liked it. Happy Place was actually, I rated 4.5. Maybe it is the 5-star I was looking for, and I just don't know how to rate romance books yet. I did like Happy Place a lot more than the other ones. I think the reason Happy Place kind of spoke to me more was just because it was something that in a way I've experienced. It addresses a lot grief over losing a situation or a time in your life. These are friends that were together in college. They're now, I think, in their 30s. They're at least it's been many years. They all have adult jobs. They're getting married. It's not that just fun. We hang out every day, or, it's a different situation moving from a college friend group to trying to still be with those friends outside of college. And that's something I personally went through. I also really was very intrigued by Harriet and Wynn's story. At the beginning of the book, we know they broke up. We don't really know why they broke up or how, or all the steps that led to there. And so it's through the past timeline chapters that we find out, and it's pieced together. First, we just see how they get together in the first place. So throughout most of the book, we have no idea what led to the actual breaking up. We have little bits and pieces. And the reason why they end up breaking up was such a real thing to me. It made so much sense. It was very sad, very tragic, and it happens to actual relationships all the time. Not to say that the other stories don't focus on relationships that don't happen, but because of the way the story was written and revealed, I felt I was feeling very sad. Like, I saw the breakup at the end of the book when I'm also seeing them get together. And so I was very invested in their relationship when they're breaking up, and that helped a lot. I do think all of these books were excellent. I think Beach Read is my second favorite of the three. It addresses things about grief, mostly about how you can't talk to them or confront them, I guess, about things anymore. And then Funny Story was perfectly fine. I like that one as well. But yeah, that is my first experience with Emily Henry. At the moment, I'm going to keep Happy Place at just the 4.5 stars. Maybe eventually I will re-examine how I rate specifically romance books, and I'll move that up or down. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this. See you guys later.